You are standing on a narrow strip of road, barely wide enough for two trucks to pass, as a river slides beneath you in slow, brown silence. It is September 1944. The Rhine is supposed to be a barrier, not a battlefield. Every military mind in Europe agrees on one unbreakable rule: major rivers stop armies. They slow advances, fracture supply lines, and give defenders time to regroup. You do not rush a mechanized force across a river without bridges. And you do not hold those bridges if the enemy has armor. The German High Command believes this rule as deeply as gravity. Rivers are defensive gifts. Blow the bridges, delay the enemy, counterattack at leisure. That is how wars are stabilized. And yet, on this quiet Dutch road at Arnhem, the bridge still stands. The Germans do not understand why. From their perspective, this should already be over. British airborne troops were never meant to hold ground. Paratroopers are light infantry, rifles, machine guns, a few anti-tank weapons. No tanks, no artillery worth the name. Drop them behind enemy lines, cut communications, seize crossings, and then relief arrives within hours. That is the theory. But theories collapse when supply columns stall, when roads clog, when resistance stiffens. Now it is day 2, then day 3, and the bridge is still in British hands. German reconnaissance reports are confused. Prisoners insist the defenders will not surrender. Radio intercepts confirm something impossible. The enemy commander has decided to stay. This is not how bridge battles end. Bridges are taken or destroyed, not held, not against armor, not without resupply. But in 1944, one man breaks that rule. You are Lieutenant Colonel John Frost, 42 years old, British Army, Parachute Regiment. You are not reckless. That is what separates you from the men who die early. You are methodical, quiet, precise. You fought in North Africa, Sicily. You have led airborne troops long enough to understand their limits and their value. Your orders are simple in wording and catastrophic in implication. Land near Arnhem, move fast, seize the bridge over the lower Rhine, and hold it until ground forces arrive. Until relieved. Those two words carry the entire operation. The plan is called Market Garden, the largest airborne operation in history. Over 35,000 airborne troops drop behind enemy lines. The goal is breathtaking in its ambition. Leapfrog across the Netherlands using bridges as stepping stones, cross the Rhine and punch directly into Germany's industrial heartland. Speed is everything. Surprise is everything. If the bridges fall intact, the war could end by Christmas. But Arnhem is the last bridge, the deepest, the most dangerous. You land miles from your objective because planners fear anti-aircraft fire. That delay costs you hours. Hours give the enemy time. Time is what airborne troops never have. As you advance toward the bridge, you hear it before you see it. Distant firing, the sharp crack of rifles, the heavier thud of machine guns. German units are already moving. Intelligence said Arnhem was lightly defended. That intelligence is wrong. 2 SS Panzer divisions, refitting, resting, underestimated, are closer than anyone realized. By nightfall on September 17, only a fraction of your battalion reaches the bridge. Roughly 740 men land. Fewer than 600 make it through the city. By the time you secure the northern end of the bridge, you command barely 300 effective soldiers. No tanks, no artillery, limited anti-tank weapons, ammunition for days, not weeks. And still you dig in, because the bridge is everything. If the bridge holds, armor crosses. If armor crosses, the war accelerates. If the bridge falls, the entire operation unravels. You know this, so does the enemy. And now they are coming. German armored vehicles appear at dawn. You hear engines first. Low, heavy, unmistakable panzers. You position your men in houses overlooking the bridge approaches. Brick walls, narrow stairwells, windows turned into firing slits. PIAT anti-tank launchers placed where the road constricts. You wait. A German half-track rolls onto the bridge. Then another. You let them come. At 50 yards, you give the order. The PIAT fires. The recoil slams the gunner backward. The round hits the lead vehicle squarely. Metal tears, flames bloom. The bridge becomes a choke point of smoke and wreckage. German infantry scatter. Machine guns chatter. Glass explodes inward. Plaster dust fills lungs. You move constantly, street to street, building to building, encouraging, repositioning, calm voice, controlled movements. German commanders cannot understand what they are seeing. Reports reach division headquarters. British paratroopers are holding the bridge against armor. That should not be possible. They attack again and again. Tanks roll forward, firing point blank into houses. Entire rooms vanish. Floors collapse. Men are buried alive under bricks and beams. You pull survivors from rubble and put them back in line. Casualties climb. Ammunition drops. Day turns into night. By the third day, your perimeter shrinks to a handful of buildings at the bridge's northern ramp. German artillery joins the fight. The shells do not discriminate. Fire spreads. Smoke turns the air into poison. You are wounded by shrapnel. Your ribs are cracked. Breathing hurts. You refuse evacuation. German loudspeakers blare surrender demands. You ignore them. Another armored assault forms. Tanks line up. Infantry follows. You count distances. 600 yards, 400, 200. Your remaining PIAT fires. It misses. A tank rounds the corner. A second PIAT fires at 30 yards. The explosion lifts the tank's front end off the ground. The crew bails out. British machine guns cut them down. The Germans halt again. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage and sacrifice deserve to be told, and by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. But relief does not come. Radio messages grow desperate. Allied ground forces are stalled miles away. Roads are blocked. Bridges behind you are contested. You realize the truth before anyone tells you. No one is coming. You hold anyway. On the fourth day, German artillery pounds your last positions into ruins. Buildings burn uncontrollably. Wounded men lie where they fall. A German officer approaches under a white flag. He offers honorable surrender. You look around at what remains of your command. Exhausted, bloody, nearly out of ammunition, you agree. The battle for Arnhem Bridge is over. The Germans retake the bridge intact, but too late. For 4 critical days, an understrength airborne battalion tied down 2 SS Panzer divisions. Armor meant to crush the Allied advance was pinned, delayed, confused. What they didn't know was how close the operation came to success. Market Garden ultimately fails. The Rhine remains uncrossed. The war drags on through winter. But the enemy never forgets Arnhem. German after-action reports describe disbelief at the stubbornness of the defense. British airborne doctrine is reevaluated. German commanders begin assuming every bridge may be defended to the last man. The lesson spreads. Never underestimate light infantry when they hold decisive terrain. One bridge delayed an army. One stand reshaped expectations. John Frost spends the rest of the war as a prisoner. He survives. Many of his men do not. Today, the bridge at Arnhem bears his name. Visitors cross it without knowing the cost measured in hours, lives, and resolve. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that John Dutton Frost and the 300 men of the Parachute Regiment do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered. The landing zones are already behind you now, wide Dutch fields scattered with parachutes and burning supply containers. What remains with you is what you carried in. Rifles, Sten guns, Bren guns, PIAT launchers with precious few rounds. Radios that work only when they feel like it. You are John Frost and you know exactly how fragile this force is. Your battalion advances in columns through Arnhem streets, boots striking pavement that still looks untouched by war. Shops are shuttered, curtains twitch. Civilians watch silently as you pass. Some smile, some cross themselves. They believe liberation has arrived. So do you. But the city is already waking up to something else. German patrols probe the outskirts. Motorcycle scouts dart across intersections. The enemy is not supposed to be here in strength, yet every mile forward costs time, and time is bleeding away. You split your force. One column pushes directly toward the bridge. Others fan out to secure approaches and block counterattacks. It is a gamble, concentration versus coverage, but airborne operations live and die on gambles. Gunfire snaps ahead. A forward platoon runs into resistance near the railway line. German infantry, alert, aggressive. This is not a token garrison. These men know what they're doing. You do not stop. You cannot. The bridge is less than a mile away now. You can almost feel it, steel, concrete inevitability. Then the streets narrow. German machine guns open from upper floors. Bullets chew brick and mortar. A British corporal goes down, hit in the neck. Another drags him into cover, blood slicking the pavement. You order smoke. Grenades arc. The air fills with dust and shouting in two languages. This is no longer a dash. It is a fight for every block. Radio reports crackle in fragments. Other battalions are stalled. Some are cut off. Some are missing entirely. You realize with a cold clarity that you may be alone. By late afternoon, your lead elements reach the northern end of the Arnhem Bridge. It is bigger than you imagine. A massive steel arch spans the lower Rhine, nearly 400 meters long. It dominates the river like a monument. Traffic lanes, pedestrian walkways, railings that offer no real cover. And it is intact. No demolition charges, no visible preparations. The Germans did not expect you this fast. You do not hesitate. Your men rush forward, boots pounding on steel. They fan out, securing the northern ramp, racing into nearby buildings that overlook the approaches. Windows shatter as firing positions are carved out with rifle butts and bayonets. By nightfall, the bridge is yours, but victory already feels thin. Only a fraction of your battalion has arrived. Units that were meant to reinforce you are still fighting their way through the city, or worse, pinned down miles away. You count heads. Roughly 300 men, that is all. Across the river, German forces gather. You can see headlights moving, engines revving, orders shouted. You know what comes next. You order defensive positions prepared immediately. Every building near the bridge becomes a fortress. Furniture is piled into barricades. Stairwells are mined. PIAT teams are positioned to cover the road. You establish a command post in a schoolhouse near the bridge ramp. Maps spread across desks. Radios buzz and fail and buzz again. You send a message upstream, bridge held. The reply you need, confirmation that armor is on the way, does not come. Night falls. German probing attacks begin almost immediately. Infantry advances cautiously, testing your lines. You repel them with rifle fire and grenades. Bodies lie in the streets, illuminated by burning vehicles. The enemy pulls back. Then the engines start. At first it is just one, then several. The unmistakable growl of armored vehicles moving into position. You are calm. This is what you trained for, not victory delay. At first light, the first armored column advances. A half-track leads, infantry riding on the sides. Behind it, a tank. You let them come. Your PIAT gunner waits until the half-track reaches the bend in the road, less than 50 yards. The weapon fires with a violent kick. The shaped charge punches through thin armor. The vehicle erupts, blocking the road in flame and smoke. The tank behind it halts, its turret swings. The gun fires, the building shudders, bricks explode inward, men are thrown across rooms. You move among them, steady voice cutting through chaos. Reassign positions. Replace wounded gunners. Keep the line intact. The Germans try again. They attack from multiple angles now, infantry through side streets, armor straight up the ramp. Mortars drop shells into courtyards and alleyways. Snipers take positions in church towers and upper floors. Every hour costs you men. A runner reports ammunition expenditure. You do the math in your head. You cannot hold like this indefinitely, but you can hold longer than they expect. German commanders are baffled. This resistance is not supposed to exist. Paratroopers are meant to seize, signal, withdraw, or die quickly, not dig in and fight armor in an urban strongpoint. By the end of the second day, your perimeter contracts. Buildings that were once strongpoints are now burning shells. You pull back methodically, shortening your lines, concentrating fire. Your men are exhausted, faces blackened with soot, hands shaking from recoil and adrenaline. Water runs low. Medical supplies are nearly gone. Wounded men lie on floors, tended by medics who have nothing left but bandages and morphine. Still, the bridge remains closed. German armor cannot cross without clearing you out. Every attempt costs them time and vehicles. Radio traffic hints at panic elsewhere. German units meant to counterattack Allied ground forces are stuck here instead, bleeding against a handful of airborne infantry. You listen to the radio again. Still no relief. You do not tell the men what you suspect. Instead, you tell them this: we hold until ordered otherwise. They nod. They understand. Because if this bridge falls too soon, everything else collapses with it. And so as night falls again over Arnhem, you prepare for another day, knowing the enemy is learning, adapting, and growing more determined with every hour you deny them this crossing. The bridge stands, and for now, so do you. The third morning begins with fire, not scattered fire, not probing fire, deliberate, crushing fire. German artillery opens up before dawn, shells screaming down into the streets around the bridge. Buildings that sheltered you yesterday are torn open today. Roofs collapse, walls peel away. Entire rooms disappear in thunderous flashes of orange and black. You are awake before the first round lands. You always are now. Sleep comes in minutes, not hours. A shell detonates 2 houses down. The shockwave slams through your command post, rattling maps off desks. Dust fills the air. Men cough, blink, swear quietly. This is different. You recognize it immediately. This is preparation fire. This is how an enemy clears a position he intends to take completely. German infantry advances behind the barrage, moving in disciplined waves. You see them through shattered windows, silhouettes darting from cover to cover. Machine guns set up at intersections. Mortars drop rounds with sickening precision. You order controlled fire. No waste. No panic. Your men fire from rubble piles now, not rooms. Bren guns chatter until barrels glow. Rifles crack in steady rhythm. Grenades bounce down stairwells and explode in deafening concussions. A German tank appears at the edge of the smoke. It moves slowly, confidently, its gun trained on your strongest remaining building. It fires once. The entire front facade collapses inward. Inside, screams cut off abruptly. You sprint through debris, climbing over broken beams and shattered brick. You pull survivors free. You reorganize what remains of a platoon into a single firing line. Someone hands you a casualty report. More than half your force is down, killed, or wounded. You fold the paper without comment. German loudspeakers crackle to life. A voice in accented English calls out surrender terms, promises of medical care, safe treatment for wounded. You do not respond. Instead, you shift positions again, pulling your perimeter tighter, anchoring it directly on the bridge ramp. Every meter you give up buys the enemy nothing without the crossing itself. By midday, the fighting is at point-blank range. German infantry rushes buildings under covering fire. You hear boots on stairs, shouted orders in German, grenades thrown blindly into rooms. One explodes near you, shrapnel rips through your side, pain flares white hot. Your breath catches. A medic reaches for you. You wave him away. You stay on your feet. The bridge cannot afford you lying down. A PIAT team reports only 2 rounds remaining. Another reports none. Machine gun belts are down to their last links. You ration ammunition by the magazine. Single shots where possible. Bursts measured in seconds. German armor rolls closer now, using burned-out buildings as cover. Tanks fire directly into your positions, shells punching through walls like paper. One round lands so close it lifts you off your feet. Your hearing fades to a dull ring. For a moment, the world narrows to smoke and noise and pain. Then a runner arrives, a message from higher command, fragmented by interference. The relief column is stalled south of the Rhine. Progress measured in miles per day, not hours. You already knew, but hearing it confirmed settles something inside you. This is no longer about holding until relief. This is about holding because that is what you do. The Germans attack again in the afternoon, this time coordinated, armor, infantry, artillery working in brutal harmony. They have learned, they are adapting. A tank advances up the ramp itself, pushing aside wreckage. Its gun swings left, right, searching. You watch it through binoculars. 150 yards, 175. A PIAT gunner steps into the open. He braces, fires, the round hits, but at an angle it glances off. The tank keeps coming. The gunner fires again. The PIAT kicks back violently. The warhead slams into the tank's side. The explosion lifts the turret hatch. Smoke pours out. The tank stops. Cheers erupt from what remains of your men. Brief, exhausted. The Germans pull back once more. You know they will return. As evening approaches, fires rage uncontrolled. The bridge ramp is a landscape of twisted metal, shattered masonry, and bodies, British and German alike. Your command post is gone. You operate from wherever you stand. A medic reports that morphine is gone. Bandages are gone. Water is nearly gone. The wounded lie everywhere. Some beg quietly, some stare at nothing. You move among them, speaking names, offering words you hope are enough. At dusk, the Germans attack one final time. This time there is no finesse. They flood the area with infantry, advancing behind tanks that fire continuously. The noise is overwhelming. Engines, explosions, screams, the crack of small arms echoing off the steel bridge overhead. Your men fight until weapons jam or click empty. Hand grenades are thrown until there are none left. Rifles become clubs. You see a paratrooper, barely 20, fire his last round, then charge a German soldier with his bayonet. Both go down. The perimeter collapses inward, meter by meter. You are hit again. This time in the leg, you fall. Someone pulls you back into cover. You try to stand. You cannot. German voices are everywhere now. Boots crunch through debris. Orders barked sharply. A German officer appears at the edge of the smoke, pistol lowered, shouting instructions. You know the moment has arrived. Continuing means annihilation. No further delay. No further gain. You give the order, cease fire. White cloth is raised. The shooting stops unevenly at first, then fully. Silence descends like a weight. German soldiers approach cautiously, weapons ready, disbelief etched on their faces. They expected to find a broken remnant. Instead, they find defiance carved into brick and steel. You are carried out on a stretcher. As you pass beneath the bridge, you look up at it one last time. 4 days. 4 days against armor, artillery, and overwhelming force. 4 days bought with blood. The bridge still stands. And somewhere far to the south, the war continues, changed, delayed, reshaped by what happened here. The fighting at the bridge is over, but the consequences are only beginning to spread. You are loaded onto a truck with the wounded, jolted forward through streets that no longer resemble a city. Arnhem smolders behind you, blackened facades, shattered glass, the smell of smoke and cordite hanging heavy in the air. German soldiers line the road, staring at you with something that is not quite triumph. It is confusion. They won the ground, they took the bridge, but it took far too long. As you are driven away, German officers gather in hurried conferences. Maps are spread on hoods. Radios chatter non-stop. Reports from Arnhem do not read like victory. They read like warnings. 2 SS Panzer divisions, elite armored, desperately needed elsewhere, have spent 4 full days locked in combat with fewer than 300 airborne infantrymen. 4 days. Those 4 days ripple outward like shockwaves. To the south, Allied ground forces crawl forward along a single narrow highway. Every delay compounds. Traffic jams stretch for miles. German counterattacks snap at the flanks. Bridges that were meant to fall cleanly are contested, blown, or held just long enough to slow momentum. Market Garden begins to fracture. What the German High Command did not know, what they could not yet see, was how narrowly catastrophe had brushed past them. Had the bridge at Arnhem fallen intact on the first day, British armor might have crossed the Rhine before German reserves fully mobilized. The Ruhr, the industrial heart of Germany, would have been exposed. The war's timetable might have collapsed entirely. Instead, the crossing is denied. German engineers secure the bridge. Defensive positions are established. Anti-aircraft guns roll into place. The Rhine hardens into a barrier once more. The operation is officially halted days later. Too far, the phrase goes. A single bridge too far. But inside German headquarters, the lesson cuts deeper than slogans. Airborne troops are no longer dismissed as raiders or temporary nuisances. They are recognized as something more dangerous. Disciplined, stubborn, capable of tying down disproportionate force when anchored to decisive terrain. Orders circulate. Future bridge defenses are reinforced. Demolition protocols tightened. Armored units instructed to respond immediately to airborne landings, regardless of intelligence estimates. All of it traces back to Arnhem, to you. In captivity, you learn fragments of the wider picture. Other airborne units fought just as desperately at Oosterbeek, at Nijmegen, along the corridor. But without the bridge, the plan collapses inward. Winter sets in. The war grinds on. For the men who held the bridge, the cost is permanent. Of the roughly 300 who reached your perimeter, only a fraction walk away. Many are killed, many are wounded, nearly all are captured. Their names scatter across casualty lists and prison camp rosters. Yet among German officers, the respect is unmistakable. Some later admit they had never seen infantry fight with such determination against armor. Others describe the defense as irrational and terrifying, because it defied expectation. Bridges are supposed to be taken or destroyed, not held, not like this, and not by men who were never meant to stay. The true impact of Arnhem Bridge is not measured in territory gained or lost, but in time. Time denied, time wasted, time that reshaped the final year of the war. 4 days that echoed far beyond a single span of steel. Years later, the bridge still carries traffic. Cars roll across it without slowing. Cyclists glide past the railings. The river moves beneath, unchanged, indifferent. To most, it is just another crossing, steel, concrete, utility. But you know what it cost. You are John Dutton Frost and you survive the war. You endure captivity, illness, wounds that never fully fade. You return home older than your years, carrying memories that surface in quiet moments and sleepless nights. Many of your men do not return at all. Some are buried near Arnhem. Some die later from wounds taken in those burning streets. Some live long lives but never truly leave the bridge behind. They were clerks and laborers, students and apprentices, teenagers and fathers, men who trained for weeks and fought for days, and then held on when the plan unraveled around them. Today, the bridge bears your name, not because you asked for it, not because you sought glory, but because for 4 days in September 1944, you and fewer than 300 men refused to obey what the enemy believed was an unbreakable rule. You proved that terrain matters only as much as the will to hold it. That delay can be as powerful as advance. That even failure measured on a map can change the course of a war. To this day, German officers who fought at Arnhem describe the same feeling, disbelief. They expected collapse. They encountered resolve. That is why this story matters now. Because history often remembers victories and forgets resistance. It remembers who crossed the river, not who made crossing impossible. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that John Dutton Frost and the 300 men of the Parachute Regiment do not disappear into silence. They did not hold the bridge forever. They held it long enough, and that made all the difference.